Former United Nations weapons inspector and United States Marine Corps intelligence officer Scott Ritter has once again ignited speculation and debate within the global news community with his stark predictions concerning the escalating tensions between Iran and Israel in the Middle East. Ritter, known for his authoritative insights into geopolitical affairs, raised alarm by suggesting that Israel might launch a military offensive against Iran imminently, possibly as soon as tonight. Ritter's latest warnings have intensified concerns over the volatile situation in the region, where long-standing animosities between the two arch-rivals continue to simmer. He asserted that Israel's motivations for engaging in a potential conflict with Iran extend beyond mere strategic considerations, suggesting that there is a deep-seated desire within Israeli leadership to exact retribution for what they perceive as a profound blow to their military pride. Central to Ritter's analysis is the recent exchange of hostilities between Israel and Iran, culminating in what he described as a psychological trauma inflicted upon Israel by Iran's demonstrated ability to strike with precision. Referring to footage purportedly showing the impact of Iranian retaliation against Israel, Ritter argued that these images have fueled Israeli anger and a desire for escalation. The events of April 14th, marked by the alleged interception of an Iranian drone and missile attack by Israel, have been interpreted by mainstream media and Western governments as a decisive victory for Israeli defense forces. However, Ritter's dissenting perspective challenges this narrative, raising doubts about the true nature of the encounter and suggesting that Iran may not have been the party left humiliated by the confrontation.
Israel has been existing in an environment that's premised on the notion of deterrence supremacy, that Israel alone gets to call the shots in the Middle East, that Israel, because of its unique status as the home of God's chosen people, with its biblical connotations, and in the history of World War II, the Holocaust, and the persecution of Jews, Israel has taken all this, perverted, I believe, the memory of those who died in the Holocaust, because you can't justify one genocide, which is the ongoing genocide carried out by Israel against the Palestinian people, by citing an earlier genocide, the genocide carried out by Nazi Germany against Jews. So, Israel has said that it will not tolerate any attack on its soil, and that anybody who dares attack Israel, whether it's Israeli soil or Israeli consulates, by the way, Israeli embassies, Israeli diplomats abroad, they will pay an extraordinarily heavy price. I heard one Israeli speak of tenfold damage, meaning that the price somebody pays for attacking Israel will be tenfold. And I'll give you an example. Saddam Hussein fired 49 ballistic missiles against Israel during Operation Desert Storm from January 1991 until the end of February of 1991. From that, Israel embarked on a policy of assassinating Saddam Hussein. A lot of people don't remember 1992, 1993, when the Israeli government basically made it their policy of assassinating Saddam Hussein. They would have carried it out had their special forces not had a horrible accident in their training ground, where it was supposed to be a rehearsal using inert weapons, but one of their elite commandos made a mistake and had a live missile, and they fired against the vehicle that was supposed to be simulating carrying Saddam, and killed a whole bunch of Israeli commandos. And the assassination attempt went public, and so they had to pull the plug on the assassination attempt. And then Israel spent the next several years seeking to contain Saddam, contain Iraq, and then ultimately bought into George W. Bush's invasion of Iraq for the purpose of getting rid of Saddam Hussein. And the revenge exacted against Saddam Hussein was a clear signal. Anybody who reaches out and does damage or does harm to Israel will suffer this fate. And yet Israel also operates on a double standard that says that as threats emerge in the region that Israel determines needs to be resolved violently, that Israel has the right to reach out and touch people abroad. And we've seen Israel bomb Lebanon, bomb Syria, bomb Iraq, carry out assassinations on Israeli soil. And their premise is we get to do it, but you don't. And Iran had, for whatever reason, and I think the answer is that when Iran looks at the strategic balance of their interests, that Iran determined that the strikes that Israel carried out against Iran were of a lesser degree than the consequences Iran would pay for retaliating against Israel. In this case, Israeli deterrent supremacy won out. Iran took a look at the situation and said, it's not in our interest to strike Israel directly, that we will use proxy conflict, we will use hybrid conflict. And indeed, Iran was, and successfully so. One only has to take a look at the axis of resistance performance in post-October 7th battle space to see that Iran and the axis of resistance, Hamas, are winning and against their strategic conflict with Israel. And so Iran's posture wasn't a posture of weakness, but actually a posture of maturity, a posture of patience, a posture that was imbued with strategic vision, not knee-jerk overreaction, which is sort of the modus operandi of the weak and those who lack confidence in their overall strategic posture, Israel. But to show you that Iran does have strategic, it has strategic deterrent philosophy, just take a look at Iran versus the United States. When the United States struck Qasem Soleimani, assassinated him in Baghdad in 2020, Iran retaliated by striking Al-Assad Air Base with, I believe, 10 ballistic missiles. These missiles were precision guided. They hit exactly what they wanted to hit. They had horrific damage, but Iran telegraphed its punch so that the United States had their forces either evacuated or in bunkers. Hundreds of Americans suffered, what we call traumatic brain injuries, but no Americans died. But as a result of that, Iran put a marker on the table that said this won't be allowed. And look at what the United States has done since then. When Iran shot down a Global Hawk drone worth many millions of dollars, Donald Trump was threatening to retaliate by striking the Iranian air defense sites in Iran. And he was told by the Pentagon that the Iranian retaliation would be so extensive and the damage done would be so immense that the United States could suffer A, economic collapse, and B, it would take us forever to accrue the military power necessary to respond to the Iranian retaliation. So it's in our interest not to strike. That's Iranian deterrence posture, showing that it has in certain cases deterrence superiority, if not supremacy. But they hadn't put that with Israel. Israel was still striking targets in Syria, in Iraq, in Lebanon. And on April 1st, Israel struck a target that it deemed must be struck from its point of view. A meeting of Iranian Al-Quds forces, senior commanders, at the consulate in Damascus, Syria. Now, let's just take a step back, because there's people who say, that's not really a consulate, Scott. That's a military headquarters. It's a legitimate military strike. I would just respond by saying that that's probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Every embassy that the United States runs in major countries incorporates a significant CIA presence. There's a CIA station that carries out covert actions against the nation that they're in, even if they're friends. Ask the Germans, how was it for Angela Merkel to have her phone calls intercepted by the United States, their friend? We also have a defense attaché office, and not only does the attaché office provide the conduit for providing military equipment, but it also serves as a headquarters in which planning can be done. So, for instance, a lot of the planning being done right now in support of what the United States and NATO is doing in Ukraine is done in U.S. diplomatic facilities in Europe by defense personnel, both those who are permanently stationed there and those who are temporarily reassigned. So if we use the standard that Israel used to strike the consulate, that it was providing a safe haven, a diplomatically protected safe haven for Iranian military personnel to plan activities that could be seen as detrimental to Israel, then understand that every diplomatic facility run by the United States, run by Europe, run by almost every nation, falls in the same category and can be bombed. This is why the international community came together and passed agreements and treaties and such that that established the notion of diplomatic invulnerability, that you can't strike these buildings, that it is inherently destabilizing. But Israel struck anyways, killed very senior officers of the Iranian Quds forces, and now Iran had a problem. If Israel was allowed to get away with this, then Iran wouldn't be able to do anything. Everywhere they turned, Israel could reach out and strike, and eventually Israel would become more and more bold, and it could lead to the Israelis deciding to strike Iran directly using F-35 fighters, missiles, etc. And we also have to keep in mind that Iran has been trying to get the United States for over 30 years now to join it in a military adventure against Iran, to destroy Iran's nuclear infrastructure, to destroy Iran's ballistic missile production capability, to carry out a regime change type conflict against Iran. That's been Israel's goal. Israel understands that it cannot fight Iran on its own, that it has no capacity to sustain meaningful military power projection into Iran, that it needs the United States. It must have the United States. So now we have a situation where Iran has to respond. But what is Iran trying to accomplish by attacking Israel? Are they trying to defeat Israel? Iran's already defeating Israel. I think we need to understand that what the axis of resistance is doing in terms of supporting Hamas in Gaza is a victory. The Israelis themselves, the day before the Iranian retaliation, Haaretz, a major Israeli newspaper, ran a front page story and said, "We've lost this war. It's done, finished. We can't win it. We're losing." And the Israelis recognize this. And so Iran's already winning. They don't need to attack Israel to win. And they don't want to do something such as an over response that empowers Israel to carry out a strike against Iran that the United States would feel compelled to join in on, thereby creating the conditions for a general war between Iran and the United States. So the response needs to be measured, but it also has to make sure that everybody involved understands that Iran will never again tolerate this. Now, deterrence only works if the people being deterred believe. I mean, if I told you that my deterrence is to walk up to you and run a feather lightly across your face, are you deterred? No. But if I told you, you do that, I'm going to pound your face into pulp, bloody pulp, leave you bleeding on the ground, spitting out your teeth, you'd say, well, that I don't want to happen. Therefore, I'm not going to do this. But now if I pound your face into a bloody pulp so you're spitting out teeth, I might go to prison. I might pay a consequence for that. And I'm saying, is it worth it? Maybe if I just went up to you and put my fist right in your face and tapped your nose just enough to let you know that I can make contact with your face anytime I want. And when I do make contact seriously, you're going down. That would be deterrence. You'd say, well, I couldn't stop that fist from touching my nose. What if he had hit me hard? I don't want that to happen. That's what Iran did.
The prediction of Israel's potential defeat by Iran hinges not on direct confrontation, but on symbolic significance. Iran holds a strategic advantage in physical combat compared to the occupying forces in Palestine. The implication suggests a looming regional crisis that could escalate into a global conflict, drawing in major powers like China and Russia. Russia has signaled its intent to prevent Western intervention in Iran for its own interests. Its involvement in Iran's affairs escalates the stakes of any international crisis if the United States, backing the occupiers of Palestine, pursues aggressive action against Iran. Western nations are cognizant of this, hence their calls for restraint from Israel. However, these pleas, echoing since the Gaza crisis, often ring hollow with hypocrisy. Israel perceives them as insincere, knowing that they would ultimately prioritize their own interests. Consequently, Israel remains steadfast in its belief that it must defend itself against any existential threat. This sentiment was echoed by David Cameron following his recent visit to Israel, underscoring the persisting hypocrisy in international rhetoric.
To be here in Israel today to show solidarity after that appalling attack by Iran. We made clear our views yesterday about what should happen next, but we also said Israel is an independent sovereign country and gets to make these choices. We continue to hope that as they do so in a way that is smart as well as tough, but also does as little as possible to escalate this conflict. But I'm also here to focus back the eyes of the world onto the hostage situation. 192 days those people have been held. Hamas should release them now, and there is a good deal for them on the table. The only reason the conflict continues in Gaza is because they won't take that deal. We need the hostages out, we need the aid in, and I'll be discussing that with the Israeli government and with the Palestinian Authority as well.
And how concerned are you that we're right on the brink of a full-scale regional war here?
Well, the situation is very concerning. It's right to show solidarity with Israel. It's right to have made our views clear about what should happen next, but it's clear the Israelis are making a decision to act. We hope they do so in a way that does as little to escalate this as possible, and in a way that, as I said yesterday, is smart as well as tough. But the real need is to refocus back on Hamas.
Scott Ritter offers further insight into the looming conflict sparked by Israel's military assertiveness.
Iran carried out an action that wasn't designed to defeat Israel or to do harm to Israel. It was to let Israel know that Iran can reach out and touch Israel anywhere, anytime, with any amount of power, and there's nothing Israel can do to stop it. The proof in the pudding, Nevatim airfield, the most heavily protected place on earth when it comes to anti-ballistic missile capability, specifically tuned to deal with Iranian medium-range missiles, the very missiles Iran was firing into Israel. They had a giant ATTRIBUTION X-band radar. Now, this is important for the Chinese audience here because this X-band radar is tied to the THAAD missile defense system that we throw into Guam and we throw into South Korea and Japan. We put it everywhere because we say it's part of our ballistic missile defense capabilities. And we're trying to tell the Chinese and others, North Koreans, we got your number. Don't even think about attacking us because we got this missile capability, this defense, this radar that will detect you attached to these missiles that will shoot you down. We're deterring you just simply by deploying this stuff. We had that in Israel. It's been in Israel for some time, and it's been linked into Israel's integrated anti-ballistic missile defense system, the Arrow 2, the Arrow 3, the Iron Dome, the improved Patriots, David's Sling, all of these capabilities that Israel, together with billions of American taxpayer dollars, in concert with the American Ballistic Missile Defense Organization, has been building for one purpose and one purpose only, to shoot down Iranian missiles. That's all they're trained to do. That's all they're supposed to do. And Nevatim is where this radar is. It's where the F-35Is are based. It's where a lot of stuff goes on. So they're protecting it. And that umbrella extends out over the Negev region to include Dimona, Israel's nuclear facility where their nuclear weapons are produced, to include Ramon Air Base, other air bases. It's saying you can't touch the Negev, that this is our safe haven, that from here we will launch the strikes that do harm to you. In the United States and Israel were confident that they had the best capabilities in the world. On the 14th, Iran launched an attack. Let's forget about the drones and the cruise missiles. Those were basically the alarm bells purposely set off so that Israel could put people into bunkers, get the kids out of the way. Iran wasn't seeking to strike civilian targets, but you never know in conflicts like this. If a missile hits something, it deviates off. You don't want a bunch of kids in a classroom getting blown up. So Iran is saying, get everybody out of the way. Here we come. We're coming. We're coming. Get what I'm saying? We are coming. So all those missile defense guys are going, all right, we get to do our thing. And they enhance it by putting airplanes out there to shoot down the drones. They bring in ships ashore that connect with, here's an important part too, again, for the Chinese audience, because now you know, just so you know what happened here, the American Aegis class destroyers came in and became interconnected with the ballistic missile defense architecture. They are now one with it. It's not architecture plus ships. They have joined together. That's how we do things. That's how we'll do it against you if we ever have to fight you. We'll bring our ships in, they'll tie in, and we're saying, we got your number. You can't beat us. So they're all ready. The Iranians came in with at least 3 different kinds of ballistic missiles. Now, they threw a bunch of other ballistic missiles out there that were designed to be detected and to be shot down. They'll send those out first. Now, what's important here is that the Iranians are collecting intelligence as this goes on. They fire these older missiles out there, and they go, okay, detection time, reaction time. Very important stuff to factor in here. Detection time, reaction time. How many targets generate how much response? So if I send 5 missiles, what responds? What's coming after us? Which missiles? How do they layer their defenses? All of this is being collected by the Iranians, who are observing and incorporating all this data. So they fire these things out, and sure, these things are getting knocked down. They're not the best. These are older ballistic missile trajectory type weapons, and they're getting hit, knocked out of the sky. But that's okay, because now Israel is looking at the nodes in Israel where this stuff is being fired, and they redirect their missiles and they launch. The missiles they launched against these targets were there were basically 3 targets that Israel was 3 primary targets Israel was interested in hitting, and then several secondary targets. They hit them all. Number 1 was a secret Israeli facility in Golan. The Israelis aren't talking about it because I think it was pretty much handled. But this is a facility, an intelligence gathering facility that allows data to be collected in Damascus. And this intelligence was fed to the F-35Is that flew out of Nevatim and Ramon Air Base, or I think it was F-16s that flew in support of this attack. And so all 3 of these bases were related to, and this is important, related to the attack against the consulate. Iran didn't carry out an indiscriminate attack against things. They hit 3 targets, major targets, that were involved in striking the consulate. The one target in Golan Heights was hit very hard. Why? Because even though Israel has annexed the Golan Heights, it's not really Israel proper. So it's basically saying, this is fair game. It's not part of Israel. We're taking it out. We're going to do damage here deliberately. But the other 2, Nevatim and Ramon, they're in Israel. Iran has to come in with that delicate touch to the nose. They can't punch the face in. So Iran sends missiles in. Let's just cut to the chase, first of all. At least 5 Iranian missiles hit Nevatim airfield, the most heavily protected space on Earth, designed to prevent any missiles hitting. 5 hit. The Iranians, I believe, announced they launched 7 missiles against Nevatim. So they lost 2. Now, did these 2 malfunction? Did these 2 get shot down? We don't know. My guess, probably shot down, because like a boxing match, even if you're an inferior boxer and you're going to lose the fight, you'll lounge around. You'll get a punch every once in a while. 2 missiles were shot down, but other missiles hit. And how did they hit? They hit by incorporating technologies that were known. I mean, it's not like they're unknown, but the West didn't take seriously, such as a separating maneuvering warhead. You see, the way the X-band radar is designed, it's going to detect this object that's coming in on a predictable ballistic missile trajectory. It's going to be a warhead attached to a main body, and the radar is pinging off that, and then at some point in time, the warhead separates. And now you create 2 different algorithmic calculations that are taking place within the radar thing. It's got a single target, it's become 2. One is a large mass that now is starting to spin and change its trajectory dynamics. So the radars have to adapt to that and send signals out. So already, just by separating your warhead, you've complicated the picture. And so now it's going crazy. They're getting new firing things, prioritization. What had they done in terms of bias? And so they're going to look at that large thing and they're going to fire at it. And these were hit. You can tell. If you look throughout Israel, you see the liquid fueled engines separated from the body. That means that a missile hit it, blew the engine out of it, and that fell to the ground. Tragically, one of those separated engines landed in the desert, and a 7-year-old Israeli Bedouin girl was severely injured. She's in the hospital right now. This is a tragedy. But the point is, a lot of the targets that Israel's hitting are these derelict, missile bodies that have no military value. They've separated the warhead. But now the warhead's coming in. So now the radar has to realign on the warhead and redirect and reprioritize. So things are happening. Remember, I'm just talking about one missile right now. One missile. Already I've created chaos by having a warhead separate. So now the warhead comes in, and now the Israelis and the Americans, they're all doing it. And I'm talking the whole world's flipped. You got a whole bunch of keyboard warriors sitting there going, holy cow, what's happening? And the warhead comes in. So they start doing a firing solution on the warhead. Two kinds of warheads came into it, or three kinds, but I'll talk about one. One was a warhead that had the ability to fire decoys. So as it comes in, and as the radars are starting to do the calculation, remember the Iranians, they're looking at reaction time. At what point in time does the anti-ballistic missile system engage? And so what you want to do right before that, right when the whole system going fire solution, we got it. You've seen it in the movies, it's fake, but like in Top Gun Maverick, he's and you got that little red square. You're like, oh, don't put the red square on the airplane. Don't do it. Also, deet, 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 deet. Missile fires up, bam. Oh God, you got me. So you have that equivalent of there, where the Israelis are going, oh, we're putting that red square on the, oh no. But right before they fire it, the thing pops out all these decoys, and the whole radar system goes, boom. We don't know what the hell just happened. Instead of one, we've got 12. Which one is it? Because they're all maneuvering funny like, and they're shooting down at different velocities, and the whole system's going, God, we can't handle this. We can't handle it. And the real missile warhead goes, thank you very much. Boom, right on target. Couldn't be shot down. Can't be shot down. That's one. The other one is they just fired it and they released a maneuvering warhead. So from the start, it comes out and it just starts moving around. And the whole radar's going, oh, damn, this thing's moving. They're trying to catch on it. But right when they get the firing solution, it fires a rocket motor in the back and zooms in. But not only that, because it's maneuvered, it's gotten off a little bit on the track. So as it's zooming on the target, and you see the video of this, where the warhead comes in, and then it goes up, adjusts, goes up again, and hits the target. Terminal guidance hits the target. And it can't be stopped. And then finally, they brought in the large missile that doesn't have maneuvering and all that stuff. But once they clear out the whole battle space, look at the two big holes that were in the runway. That was done by a third kind of missile that just came in and said, yeah, we're the big boy. Boom, boom, goodbye. Now, imagine if after clearing out all the air defense, confusing the living crap out of all the air defense, the Israelis or the Iranians, instead of sending in 2 boomers, sent in 100 boomers. And each one was aimed at a warehouse building, a barracks building, a communications building, a hardened aircraft bunker, where the airplanes are stored, taking those out. And now you have 100 big craters in Nevatim. The face is destroyed. That's the future of Nevatim if the Israelis want to continue this game. But the other thing that happened is, as the missile defenses are being shot, the Iranians are collecting that data too. And they're sending stuff in. And you see these 2 warheads I described, the one with the shotgun effect and the other one with the maneuvering effect. Take a look. They have you see on the video where the Iron Dome is firing off their rockets up there. And then, wham, the guy comes in, fires his little shotgun shell, and they fire off more. Look at where the Iron Dome was firing, and look where the warhead hit. The Israelis really gave away the node. So they came in and went, boom. Now imagine if the Iranians launch multiple waves of rockets, as they will in the future. And the first wave, in addition to blowing things up, starts giving away the targets. And they go, oh, here we are. Hi, we're Iron Dome. And the Iranians go, we don't care about Iron Dome. Well, wait a minute, over here, I'm Thad. I care about Thad. Bam, there goes Thad. I'm David Sling. Goodbye, David Sling. I'm an improved patriot. Dos vidanya, mama. Arrow 1, arrow 2, you're done. And that's what would happen. They come wave after wave and just eliminate all this. And this is what happens. You see, the Iranians led with drones. And the purpose of the drones was to give advance warning. This was not a coordinated attack in terms of a classic time on target. See, a classic time on target has everything arriving at once. But now what the Iranians will look at what the Russians have done. The Russians have been masterful at going into Ukraine and taking out the Ukrainian air defense over time. Now the drones that used to go in to set off Ukrainian air defense so that more precision missiles could take them out, since there's no more air defense, the drones are just coming in blanket and everything. And It's wide open. Now imagine you're Israel and you've just had all your air defense killed by the Iranians. Because remember, they have the capacity to do that now. They've proven it. Now the drones come in. Now people say, well, they'll be shot down by airplanes. Well, how much fuel is in an airplane? I'll give you a pro hint. It's not indefinite. Eventually, airplanes have to land. But how do you land in an airfield that's been taken out? You can't. You go to your reserve airfield, but that's been taken out too. So now what happens is the Israeli aircraft have to flee to Cyprus, to Jordan, to someplace to be recovered because they can't land in Israel. And while that's happening, they're not up in the air shooting anything down. And so now the drones come in. And it won't be 100. It won't be 300. It'll be 1,000. And the drones will come in and there will be nothing left to shoot them down. And they will take out every single target in Israel. And this is just day one, ladies and gentlemen. Then day two will come around and Iran will do it all over again. But this time, there's no air defense system. So that's what happened. Now, Iran didn't do this, but they can do it. And Israel knows it in America. Israel had its nose touched. Bam. And they're looking back and they're going, damn, we couldn't stop those missiles. And there was only 7 fired. We shot 2 down, but 5 came in. Guys, can we, if they sent 1,000 missiles at us, what would we get? We'd shoot down 20? So you're telling me that 980 missiles are going to hit Israel. We can't win that, can we? No. So maybe we don't want to bomb Iran. And here's the other thing. Even if Israel's crazy enough to talk about it, like Netanyahu's, in a domestic political crisis right now. So to save his political career, he might want to bomb, Iran, retaliate.
Numerous videos have delved into the imminent crisis, revealing a clear message. A regional war in the Middle East holds no benefits for anyone. Both Iran and Israel have demonstrated their capabilities, and it's time for them to step back and give peace a chance. Israel's attack on an internationally recognized Iranian embassy in Syria elicited a direct retaliatory response from Iran aimed at re-establishing deterrence. For us at the Open-Minded Thinker Show, this spectacle is more than sufficient evidence. However, it appears that Israel is intent on escalating the situation. Reports suggest they might be targeting sensitive Iranian military sites and energy facilities. There are even unverified plans circulating, indicating that the colonial powers in Palestine seek to strike Iran's crucial oil fields, refineries, and nuclear sites. If such actions were to occur, Iran would likely retaliate, potentially triggering a regional conflict with no clear victor emerging. Thank you for joining us today. To expand our reach and amplify our message, we encourage you to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Together, let's raise awareness and strive for peace. Until next time, stay informed and engaged. Peace.